Hi, this is Cobb, and this is the third session in the training series for the CPG web mapping application for Georgia Forestry Commission. In the previous sessions, we imported data from GPS, and we showed how to bring in from other types of file formats that you may have as external resources, and to bring those in to convert to KMLs with DNR Garmin, and then using the KML upload tool within the mapping application to add those to our existing database of CPG burns dating back to 2012. So this is the track we've been working with. We brought this one in from the GPS 62 Garmin, and added some attributes. Most importantly, the burn ID number, which is how we would query this out and filter for finding this track for mapping applications. This other track was pre-existing, and in the second session we performed some edits on these the vertices, the perimeter of this polygon, to eliminate the overlap that was existing between those two, which may occur when you bring tracks in and you have adjacent tracks that were had some inaccuracies or there were some other problems. So you may have some overlap, which we need to try to eliminate, if at all possible, by editing the track that you feel was collected by the least reliable methods. And so if a tract has been digitized and rather than brought in out of a GPS, or if you can tell that the GPS settings were more coarse, in other words, there were fewer vertices along this line here, you can tell a lot of times whether the settings on the GPS. So if you have less settings, there's more opportunity if you're using an automatic setting for there to be some variation in the actual line, which causes that overlap. So you can see these are fairly close together, but they don't necessarily look like raw GPS data because they're the lines are too smooth. They don't have the kind of irregular type that these raw GPS tracks have. If you see all these, this is looking more like a raw. So we adjusted this track's boundary so that it did not overlap with the other one. So what we're going to do in this session is take these over to the web map environment to perform some other operations, and also to prepare this track for creating a burn plan map, which is what you can do in here. In addition to uploading these tracks for our recording purposes, you can also make a really good quality map to include in your burn plan. And so that's one of the requirements in our policy for preparing burn plans. So this is a really good way to do that, to make a nice branded professional map. So if we go over to the common layers, this is the web map that the original application is based on. And remember, we have our burn ID plan, or burn ID for this track, which is what we're going to use when we get to the web map to locate and filter out the track that we're interested in. So I've used that link, and this opens up the map that the original application, that the CPG application that's on our ARC server is based on. This is in ArcGIS Online, but the application is based on this web map. So we can first thing you generally want to do is to filter out our tract of interest and to find that tract so that we can work with that specific tract. So under the grants layer, this is a filter. Remember, we're looking at burn ID. If you click unique values, it will populate this field with all of the burn ID values for the tracks, and you can just select one from there. And when you apply filter and zoom to it, both locates the tract and also filters it out. So you don't see at this point the adjacent tract that was actually the one that overlapped in the first place. And that's so we can, when we make a map out of this, if we make a map output from this, then we'll only see this tract that's a subject of our plan. So we don't want to include, of course, a bunch of adjacent tracts from different landowners in the one that we're delivering to a landowner that pertains to his tract. So with that filter operation, we just limited. The tract is still there. It's just it just doesn't display with that filter applied. So we can. So we've edited this tract, and it's suitable for map production. But we may want to add a couple of elements or change some symbology for your purposes. You have some flexibility. But the first thing that we need to do here is to if you don't have a GIS calculation for the acres, or if you have one that was just based on something that you read off of the GPS unit, which isn't particularly accurate, it truncates all of these points, all these vertices in a polygon to 500 features. So it really kind of roughs out the actual shape, and kind of distorts the shape of the perimeter, and it does affect the acreage. So if you didn't have one of those out of a GIS, then you're going to need to calculate acres to check that against the reported acreage in our intranet CPG database. So what we do for that is under these analysis tools. This is something that it's not. There's not a really straightforward tool that just adds acreage the way that we have in desktop in the toolbar that I've developed. But we can obtain acres by using these analysis tools, and this is the tool set you'll be looking for, summarized data. And within there, this is the summarized within. So this tool opens and has some default values already added in here. So what we're gonna do is we want to leave this one. This is the burn perimeters layer, CPG Stevens grant. And for this layer, we want to have a layer that we are sure includes the entirely, so that this layer should be entirely within this layer. So if we choose CWPP, which is really is just basically a county map of Georgia, it has all of the counties in Georgia. So this tract is in Hall County, and so it should be included in that extent. And we can change the sum area to acres, because that's what we're interested in. And we can change the name here to something that makes a little more, that's more meaningful, that pertains to this specific tract. And so this will be, we could call this 2900, since that's the burn ID, or you could use it's landowner name, but it's recommended to always stick with the burn ID, because that's our unique identifier. So if you had another burn with the same landowner, or this would pertain to this particular burn on this particular tract. And you see it's going to be saved in our home folder in the admin account. So this will create another layer and it does consume some credits, but as you see, this isn't really a major concern. It's 2/1000th of a credit. We have over 17,000. So, but we do want to, as everybody's using this, you want to minimize the number of times the credit consumption that we have. So you do want to make sure you have everything together, and that you only have to run this once for every tract that you bring in. So when we run this analysis, you see it's operating here. It's going to create this layer, and so when it does, it'll create another layer that has all of the fields. It'll be essentially a duplicate of this burn layer, the burn perimeter layer for this filtered tract, with the addition of those fields that have the acreage. So there it is, and it's symbolized like this. So if we look at the table, then we can see that this will be the acreage field, the total acres for the burn, the GIS acres. And if this is it's significantly different than the number that we have in for the completed acres that we're in the record, in the database records, then we need to resolve that in some kind of way. We can so this is our layer, the one that we created. So we can use this. This is in our content as a district administrator account, and also is owned by that D1 admin. So we can change some things about it if we wanted to. Generally, we don't really need the symbology for this layer, but we may want to, in the context if we're creating a burn plan map. You may want to add some labels. If we'd entered the landowner's name, the last name, then we could label it with that. But you may want to, a lot of burn plans, they would maybe bring in the acreage field. You see, I just added that field in from the layer content, and if I wanted to maybe change the font color to have a little more contrast, and maybe well, that's good enough. So then we can add, if you want to add text into the label to be a little more descriptive, you can do that. See, now we have that many acres. And then we can say OK to that. Now, if we don't necessarily need this pink symbology here, the layer is already symbolized within this layer underneath. So these layers are actually kind of overlays, duplicates of each other. So we can turn off, if we want to just go up here and say, and make a single symbol by location, and then we can edit that symbol to basically make that symbology transparent. And when we do that, then the symbology disappears, but we still have the label, which is coming from that layer. It's just not symbolized, but the label is still coming from this 2900. So another thing you might want to do, or you do, if you're going to make a map, you don't need to have this layer in the legend. So you can elect to hide this layer in the legend, so that when we get our final map printout, it doesn't have this 2900 acre layer, which doesn't really make any sense in the context of the map. And then we can, if you want to, if you feel like the map display isn't what you need for your burn plan, you can change these symbols. So this is symbolized by the burn or mastication. So the burn and mastications are symbolized two different ways in this map. that you can, if you wanted to change this symbol, then you could, maybe if you wanted to add maybe a red that's sort of mostly transparent, so you can do that. And that's shows up a little, indicates the burn area a little better than just the red line. Maybe it's up to the map producer in that regard. But then we can also, if we wanted to change, this will be the label in the legend of the printout. You're changing this, we'll change that, so we can make this a little more specific. Or if we just wanted to be generic, we could just something like that. But if you leave it like it is, it's fine. It'll just say, in the legend, it'll just have this symbol, and then it'll just say burn. But if you want to change it to something more descriptive, like Jones burn or something like that, then you can do that, and that's what'll show up in your legend. You see how it's changed the legend label here in the little inset demo. So we can do that. So if we have something like this, so we've modified the symbology, and we've added this label, and we've created this analysis layer to get the acres. Now, if we try to, so if this right now, it isn't saved. So if we just close this, and then the next time we open the web map, it would revert back to the default condition that it was. And if we try to save this, you see that that option is grayed out, because this is the original web map, which is actually owned by the system administrator. But we can save this as a copy, and this could be a web map for your own use that's going to be saved in this in your admin D1 content. So if we wanted to save this as a 2900 CPG map, then we can leave those as they are if you want. Save this map. So the map is saved with this extent and with these customizations into your content. So if you go over here and open your content, you'll see that you have this map. This is the map you just created, and then this was the layer that you created when you did the analysis, which was it did create a feature layer which was saved in your content, which has the acreage field. So if we want to, it's recommended that as you are working with these and you accumulate these plans these web maps that you customize and save in your content, you can create a folder for each one of the burns that can contain all of the pertinent files for each. So if we wanted to check these and then move these over to the 2900 folder, so they disappear from your home page content, but they're contained in this folder here. So if we then open up this web map that you created, and it should open up to the same extent, and the changes that you've made, because you saved this as your own web map in your content, those changes should be reflected, and they are the label and the symbology change. And now what we can do is click on the share here, and this is a place where you can share your maps if you wanted other your co-workers to be able to open these. If you needed to share some data or to show somebody something about a map or a burn area, then you could do that. You can share with the whole organization or your a member of the Stevens Grant group that has all the maps that pertain to CPG burns. But what we want to do at this point is create a web app based on this web map, because the app has some additional functionality, including the print template that we're using to create the final map output. So we have these two templates available for the time being, and so you'll select, since this is a CPG project, you'll select the CPG mapping template, and you see that it's going to be named after the map unless you change it. So since you really can use this app, this is a configurable app, so you can use it for any web map that you create. You could name it something a little more general. And so you can save that, and it creates a web app. It's exactly like the original app we've been working in, except it is based on the web map you created, so that it reflects those changes that you made to the original web map. And unfortunately, we have to log in a few more times. So this opens the original app, and as you can see, there's a configuration panel over here where you can select the web map that you're going to be using. It says the 2900 map is the one we're using now, which is what we want. And so we can select done, and that will save the app with that current configuration with the 2900 map. So when we open this app, it will be based on the 2900 web map that you just created, rather than the default map that the original application was based on. All right. So it should return to the extent of that web map, but if for some reason it doesn't, you can just use this query tool over here in the app to find you have to use the little comma and the numbers, but you can always just drop down and select the number out of the list as well. But when you do that, it should go back to your and then the green is just the query selection. So as soon as you close the window, it goes back to our original. And so at this point, you probably would just want to generate the map output with this app, but you could always there's some other tools in here that you can kind of play around with, but generally from this point we're just going to be in the last version, and that's why you don't really need a separate app for each web map, but you can use that configuration panel to change a web map and then use the printout function. So the one we use is the GFC print templates, and this other one is only for internal use. It doesn't have a logo, it's not branded, but it's for in some cases we have trouble if we have this is on our server, on our GFC ARC server on the network, and if that's having problems, then this one runs through the ArcGIS Online cloud service, which is frankly more reliable, but it doesn't have the custom elements that we need for our branded map product to put in the burn plans. So this would be like for an internal map for your use, or for to share internally amongst GFC people. But the maps for the customers, we should always use these branded, standardized maps. So when we open this, we see that there's this red panel indicates the extent of the print frame, and so we can we can change the scale of the print, and that changes, of course, the extent of the layout. We can also make a custom title in the print, which is whatever you want to. Well, I mean, I don't remember the name of the landowner, but whatever we want to put in here, we can. And then down here you can put the authors. If you want to put the authors, so then when we print this, it generates in this case it's going to be a PDF. You can see there's a lot of different image formats we can use to output these prints. Several different. You can make a ping or something. If you needed to insert it into a Microsoft, like a Word doc or something, then it used to be that PDF you couldn't. Maybe these days you can, but yeah, all of these, the JPEG is a pretty common, and ping is a really good. Ping 32 is a strong format. So we have this printout, which in this case is a PDF, because we selected the default, and so this is our output. And we could have modified this title, whatever your convention is for your map titles that go with your burn plans in the district. But it is standardized, has the logo, all of the map elements, data preparation, and the service credits, and scale bar and text. So, and the author, all of those elements that we normally think of in under ICS for the official mapping products. And this is something you can save to your folder. See, it's coming on as a PDF, and we can name it or something like that. We can save it to our content there. And so we can also I forgot to mention in the advanced options, if this number here is the dots per inch, is something you'll need to increase if you wanted to do a large format type print. Like for if you wanted to prepare something that could be used for on a plotter with a wall map with a landowner, then you'd probably need to increase that to about maybe 250. But as it is, this is good enough for a letter size. These are letter size, or we have some tabloid, which is the 11 by 17 format that you could use in a burn plan as 2 panels. So like a fold out, if you wanted a larger cover. The landscape tabloid would be like the horizontal fold out, where you just have a left page and a right page. And then the portrait would be if you had a sort of a vertical, where you'd have to turn the thing sideways and then open up like this, like a magazine. So those are some of the options to generate this, and this is a pretty nice looking branded map we can use. If you go back to your content, So we can also bring in, add the PDF if you wanted to do that to the. So we're in this folder 2900 now, and we can say CPG. Whoops. I can't. Burn map, and then we could use a CPG tag, and we're gonna select that PDF that we just made, of the burn map, and we can attach that, and then we can add that to our content. And this is just a PDF, so this is a way to store this image along with. Do you remember how we could attach an image or a document to the actual spatial data in the tract? You remember how we attached this image to and this is associated with this spatial data, this polygon in the map. So when you open the map, then you can see the image. But over here, this is actually in your content in your ArcGIS Online account. So this would keep together. If you went to your content, it keeps together all of your map, and your web map, and then your layer that you created can all be in this folder, this 2900. So if you want to, in the next time you go through this procedure, when you get to the point of creating the app the way we did by opening this map and then going to share. Let's review that one more time. So that initially, when you use this system, you can go to share and then create a web app, and that's how you create that initial app that's based on this particular web map right here. But if you suppose you were working on a different map, like say the first map that we brought in with the GPS 60, that tract. So all we basically after we came out of the app and we're here in this web map environment, we can just apply a different filter, and we can I think it was $28.99. Let's try that. Yeah, that's it. So this is the first one we brought in, and you see it's symbolized this way. So remember, we're still working. The reason this symbology is holding is we're still working in this 2900 map and not the original map. Doesn't have any shading in the interior. But if we wanted to have that, and then we could, so we've applied this filter. This is the only tract that's displays in the map right now because of the filter we just applied. And we could, if we wanted to do another analysis. And remember, I'm not going to do it because we don't want to. We want to minimize the number of times that we consume those credits. But you remember, it's summarized within, and then you would choose CWPP and change this to acres, and then you would run the analysis. But we're not gonna do that. So that would generate that layer that had the acreage in the sum area field that we could use for a label if we wanted to. And so if we had that and we were interested in this map, then we could. Now this time you could save this, but you wouldn't want to, because this refers to a different tract. So you want to save it under another name, and we could change this, basically just the burn ID here. And then we'll save it in our home folder, because then we can create another folder named 2899 and move it to there the way we did before. So we save this map, we go to your content, and then we'll have in our home folder, now we're going to have this CPG map. We can create a new folder, 2899, and we can move this one over to that folder. And so remember, in our content here, we actually probably should move this one out to the home folder, because then when we go to this is our app that we created from that original map 2900. If we go to the details, then we can configure the app to use the web map that we just created, the 2899. And so this is if you find this process, so because there are several other logins, to be more cumbersome, then you can just use the other process. But what it does is it saves a new app every time. For every web map, then you would have a separate app, and it would just be for making the printout. So it really makes more sense to change this. So we're gonna change it to the 2899 map, and then we'll save that. So now at this point, as soon as it saves, and the app is based on that 2899 map now, so we can print that out with the changes that we've made there and the filters. So there's our. So we may have a slightly different. So we have we can always zoom into that. So we're done, and so now we have the application that is at this point is based on the 2899. So if we open that and log in one more time, you will get lots of practice logging in, so you'll never forget this. Well, actually I did forget it, didn't I? How's that? No? Oh, crap. Nope. Okay. Really? Let me try one more time. So anyway, yeah, that's annoying. We're going to try to get that addressed, that resolved pretty soon, so that it'll be similar to online when you're in the cloud. once you log in, you don't have to log in every time you access the data. The browser holds that data until you refresh it. So so now this is our other track, and remember, this is the only track that's displayed. So if we had adjacent tracks around it, those wouldn't display because of that filter that we have applied in the web map. And then we can see how the app, when it was based on 2900, is named this, and over here it's 20. So you'll always have this title over here to keep you straight on which web map this app is based on, because the title will change when that changes. And so if we wanted to use this print widget again, and for this one, maybe because of the shape, maybe we would want to go with a portrait orientation, and when we reduce this, we could get, if we wanted to be coverage, and then we can move this around in the print frame to get this is going to be the print extent that's in the data frame of the printout. And then alright, so there's something like that, and your author, then you can make the other print. And so the side legend templates, of course, just have the legend in a single column along the side, and the other ones have them, they're kind of along in this panel at the bottom. So you can play with these templates and see which one you think works the best. But so there's the other map. So we use that same app to create the printout for each of those tracks. But the reason you have to configure the app is when you're in the web map, you apply those filters so that only these tracks will display. So if I go into this 2899 map, and I zoom to the 2900, it does find a result, but actually when I clear the query, there's nothing there, except for the title, because when I applied the filter, none of the other tracks will display. And it's the same thing for the other so each one of these web maps is only going to display the track of interest, such that when you create your map, if it was a broader scope map, like say if you wanted to have a location map of the tract, it wouldn't include any of the other the other burn tracks, only that one for the mapping procedure. So this is this part of it is more really creating the advanced maps, and but the main gist of it is the upload, the first two sessions were the upload and the editing, and then you can create these really nice maps for your burn plans. And like I said, all it takes is you got this in your main content, and you just open up the properties. Let's go through that one more time. And then so this is in your main content, and each of these folders will contain the maps and layers and the PDF map, the web maps that pertain to that tract. That's the recommended way to organize your files. But in the main folder will be this template, which is go to details, excuse me, my voice is breaking up. And then configure app, and that's going to bring you to the page where you would select the web map and log in the several times to get that change carried over to base it on another web map that's in your content. So when I click this, all of the maps that I've created that are in my content will show up. So you can select one of those maps and then use that as a basis for this app. So that's that's about the extent of what I wanted to cover in this session. And if you hope this isn't too cumbersome for you to accomplish. I know that the ability to make these maps, I consider that a distinct advantage to this system, that you can make such a nice map that's straight out of the same process that you use to upload this data, which adds it to our cumulative database, is something you can use to create a nice map that can be included in your plan, presented to the landowner, and so forth. That's it, and I hope this is helpful. I hope you're able to use this effectively. Thanks a lot.